Good morning. Thank you very much. I would just like to give a small introduction to the work of CIGRE and how it relates to smart grid. CIGRE is a networking and reference organization. We have 90 countries as members and 58 national committees. Of that, we have at any one time approximately 250 working groups with over 3,000 international experts solving problems on smart grid issues, on rotating machines, right through from the generator to the smart meter. So the importance really is that normally you will find there is a solution to any problem. Somebody has found it around the world. From the CIGRE side, we are looking to find those experts, get them in together, and to create brochures which then produce the solution to those particular problems in guides, state-of-the-art, and so on. Now, how does this relate to smart grid? Well, smart grid, if you look at it, involves every part of the distribution and transmission organization. A fallacy to think of smart grid as just AMI, and certain things relating to the communications around the customer. The actual smart grid involves your whole planning, your planning philosophies, how you actually look at distribution and transmission planning, your operations relating to large penetrations of renewables. It also involves how to determine what kind of protection systems you are going to be using into the future, what kind of telecommunication systems you are going to be using, and how these standards are then going to evolve and how you're going to apply them. So a lot of the work that CIGRE does from the brochures is then linked into the standards organizations, such as IEC, so that at the end of the day, people around the world can have building blocks which relate to smart grid and other information technologies which can actually enable the development of the smart grid, the smart city concept. Now, one of the things that is often not looked at, which CIGRE is now focusing on, is that it's all great to have a smart grid for existing customers and how to enhance them, how to improve them. But there are around over 1 billion people in the world with no power, electric power at all. And these people spend up to 8 to 10 hours a day collecting wood and other biofuels for heat and so on. In doing that, they cannot get educated, they cannot develop, and so on. So the actual benefit of looking at smart grid technologies, which are phenomenally compact, modular in design, and can be applied from the gigawatt range down to the watt range, is something which is quite fantastic, because now we have a number of building blocks which we can work with in getting standards, in getting methods, in linking with the authorities to actually start getting ways in which we can now start electrifying these particular areas, which gives you an enormous benefit, not only on quality of life, but also on reducing the reduction of biofuels in many areas. And being from Africa, I've personally seen the growth of trees about 1 year after electrification comes into the village, because now they can, in fact, use other means to heat and give light. So the important thing with the smart grid technologies is that it is not only modular, it is not only really, it gives you a baseline for an intelligent operation within a small grid, but it also allows us to leapfrog old technologies. So instead of looking at the old diesel grid type of scenario, we can now look at renewable storage and then intelligent metering, intelligent liaison with the customer in remote areas, and we can now get benefits in where the customer in the past really would not have had any possibility of getting clean electrical energy. And this is one of the main benefits, I feel, in the smart grid environment. And CIGRE is looking at a number of working groups and building blocks and systems whereby we can actually enable this. In doing this, the networking component is absolutely essential. In India, we've seen phenomenal growth, phenomenal innovation. And this kind of innovation is very critical to share within groups such as CIGRE and other groups so that we can actually use those ideas and bring them into other areas where we can then leapfrog and leverage the success stories in other areas so that we can apply them in other parts of the world. And it's not only networking among the technical areas, we also need to understand regulators. We also need to understand cultures in different areas. We also need to understand liaison with local communities. Because strangely enough, you'll find a lot of communities just don't understand electricity. They do not necessarily want it. And it's this kind of thing that we need to understand when we go in to actually implement smart grid technologies in remote areas. One of the things that we need to avoid is that in the past we thought that the European solution was good for everything. And in Africa we found this quite often, especially linking to funding. This needs to now we need to be very aware of how we can actually use the smart grid building blocks, which includes your communications, your smart meters, your lines, your storage, your linking up to the higher voltage levels, your whole operation, how that is done so that it suits particular areas. And also we need to understand how we ramp up from a very low, very small area into a large integrated super grid, and how we actually evolve from one side to the other side so that we do not make the mistakes that we've made in the past. So I would urge that from the networking side, and this conference is one of the prime examples of how this is to be done. I would urge that if we have fora, if we are looking at working together in a lot of other working groups relating to smart grid, that we also look at what's happening in CIGRE, what's happening in IEEE, what's happening in IEC. We optimize our networking so that we can get the best solutions which we all have to benefit the world population relating to clean energy. Thank you.